it's kind of a ridiculous notion, a ridiculous thought to think that all the public funds and public school systems should teach Christianity or teach faith to kids. That's that's the ultimate responsibility of the parents.
It is, absolutely. It is the primary responsibility of the parents. There's no question about it. But what I would say is that parents only have a limited amount of hours that they are with their children. The predominant amount of time the children will spend nowadays is in the wider culture. And a lot of Christians who try to inculcate good morals in their children realize that those morals are not being reinforced once their children walk outside of their very own homes. And so what happens is that the environment is at war with our children. I feel that way about just that with everything. I feel that the environment is at war, for example, is at war with my marriage. I feel like the minute you step outside of your front door, you're being bombarded with all kinds of ideas and images that are contrary to the sanctity of your marriage. The same is true with your children, who are much more vulnerable. The minute they step outside of the purview of their parents, instead of the authority figures reinforcing what the parents are teaching, the authority figures are undermining what the parents are teaching. And the wider culture at large is so permissive that it becomes very, very easy for children to slip into sin. For centuries we had something that was called a taboo. Taboos are essentially the society at large tries to help parents to keep the youth on the right track.
All right, Doctor, I got to hold it right there. Hey, Scott, great point. We as parents are the primary educators of our children. Starts in the home. We'll be back with more conversation and more calls for Dr. Grace Vuoto as we take a look at our country. And you can also check out her great article, Christians Rise Up. It is a must-read. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Life as you've never heard it. This is the Drew Mariani Show on Relevant Radio.
All right, there's about 11 minutes before the top of the hour. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be with you today. Do appreciate you joining us. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking today with Dr. Grace Vuoto. She's going to be joining me actually in the weeks ahead. We're going to, every other week, start a new series, and I do enjoy her perspective on life and on many of these issues. She's the executive director of the Edmund Burke Institute, also the founder there. And we'll take calls for her. Her latest article is called Christians Rise Up. And if you go to relevantradio.com, keyword Drew, there is a link there at that webpage. It'll take you over to the article, a must-read. I think it'll really open your eyes as to the rise of secularism and the failure of the Christian majority in this country to really impact the country as we're all called to do. Jim in Chicago, good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Vuoto.
Hi, I'd like to ask the doctor a question, and I have a comment. Doctor, do you believe, as I believe, the Democratic Party has been hijacked by the progressives? And,
yes, I absolutely believe that.
And if so, and isn't that just a euphemism for atheism and communism? And my comment is this. The upcoming elections in November are very important, but if we don't win, the great battleground is for the hearts and minds and souls of our children. And if we do not take back the public school systems, it's going to be all for naught. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much.
All right, Jim, thank you. Doctor, I'll let you respond to that.
You are completely right about the absolute importance of taking over the public school system. And when you talk about the political arena, that's one of the things that I point out in the piece. Christians have to be active in every area of life. That is to say, they have to be active in the local government as much as they have to be active at the national level. You said something really brilliant, and that is that the progressives are definitely dominating the Democratic Party. That's another example of an institution that has gone way, way, way to the left. The Democratic Party wasn't always so left-wing. And one of the things that, if you have, some of the audience, Drew, they might be Democrats, old-school Democrats. Mm-hmm. If you want to fight for the traditional Democratic Party, that's a legitimate cause, too. And so one of the things that all Christians have to remember is that All institutions are at stake, and the liberals are very actively snatching them up one at a time in their corner. And we as Christians have to be just as shrewd, just as active, and just as tough in taking back every one of the institutions that have been taken away from us.
All right, Bill in Montana. Thank you, sir, for calling in. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, I really agree with that last caller and the comments. But my comment was on the last point you made before the break about the parents' responsibility to educate our children. We live in a culture now where nearly 50% of the children are being raised in single-parent families, so that that expectation is just not realistic.
Well, no, that doesn't undermine the reality that if you're a single father or a single mother raising your child, you still have an obligation to raise your child to make sure they're well formed in values as well as the faith and the issues that you want to impart to that child as a parent.
That's very true, but the culture has now, this I was getting at a little bit, I touched on it, the culture has told us that it's okay to be a single mom, it's okay to be a single dad. The culture has broken down all the taboos that are so essential to raising our children properly. And so the caller is right in the sense that you have a lot of individuals, some of them are single moms, for example, they're struggling for survival. They basically abrogate the responsibility of the moral upbringing of their children to the state.
Yeah, but that doesn't make, my point is it doesn't make it right. I mean,
no, it's not right.
What ends up happening is too many parents right now are allowing daycares and elementary schools and high schools to raise their kids and form them, and they get formed in the wrong ideology. We as parents, whether you're single or married, have to instill good moral values into your children so that they can navigate the many challenges that lie before them.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. But you know, Drew, one of the realities is that the state, through the education system, it seems very intimidating to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it does. They think, well, these are highly educated people. If they're teaching this, these things must be true. They must be good. You know, especially when you're talking about individuals that are not educated themselves. They send their children to school. They think, well, the state's going to teach them, you know, very good things. And in reality, that's just not the case. And that's why Christians have to be vigilant on, you know, on every school board, in every local constituency. And that's the point of the piece, is that we shouldn't feel as helpless and powerless because we are the majority. And all we have to do is be very, very active. And this is not just a political mandate. In reality, it's part of our Christian obligation. In a sense, we Christians have abrogated our civic responsibilities because many of us have just retreated into our own homes. And we say, well, you know what? The best I can do maybe is just be Christian for myself and my family. But in reality, it is part of our mission to love one another that we ensure that the right ideas are out there for our countrymen.
Very, very well said. My guest today, Dr. Grace Vuoto. Mark your calendar. She'll be joining me next week, I think at this time as well. And check out her article, Christians Rise Up. It is well worth the read. Her website, edmundburkeinstitute.org, or go to relevantradio.com, keyword Drew. I'll be back. Don't go away.
Thank you.